All right, good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us. We appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today. This is Art Tarasis with ACA here in Alexandria. Joined in the office by Gila Todd. Gila's online with us, and also Chris Andreessen, who is one of our professional consultants, and will be with us during our Hill visit. If you're able to bring up the PowerPoint that we shared with you all, we're just going to follow along through that. If you have any questions at all during the conference call, please go ahead and just make a note of it. We went ahead and put in a new feature. Some of you may have heard we had some difficulties with the last conference call, so in order to make it a more pleasurable experience for everyone and a better utilization of everyone's time, we've muted the lines so that hopefully we could have an uninterrupted call, but we will unmute the lines at the end of the call for question and answer session. So once again, thanks a lot for joining us. We are very much looking forward to seeing you all here and spending some time with you. The goals for the call today, we're just going to walk you through what's going to happen on July 24th. We're going to talk to you a little bit about how to identify your representative, walk you through the process for requesting a meeting with your representative, and we're going to provide you with a lot of information that deals with our legislative issues. So real quick, what's going to happen between now and the few days we've got left until you join us here in Washington? We really need you all to email Gila, and his email is there in the PowerPoint. Let him know who your representative is and the information regarding your meeting. Gila is in the process of scheduling all of your Senate visits, so if you had a question regarding that, please know that he is taking care of scheduling all of your Senate visits. The only visit you need to worry about is scheduling the visit with your U.S. representative. We also need you to do that quickly. We'd like for it to be done by tomorrow. We know he's put July 10th there, and that is the deadline. We understand that sometimes the offices are not as good as getting back to you as you are to reaching out to them. So as soon as you get that information, we'd appreciate it. We'd also like you to take some time not only to learn about the issues that you'll be advocating for, but also take some time to visit the websites for your senators and for your representative. Take a look at their biographies. Sometimes it's a bit interesting to take a look at those to see where they came from. You, in some cases, might actually know their families or where they went to school, or may have some connections. In some cases, there are members of Congress that have backgrounds in mental health fields, and so that's always good to know. So we really would appreciate if you just took some time to look at those before you come here to Washington. We'll also send you issue updates as needed. We are in the process right now, I think, of finalizing the briefing papers that you'll receive for the ILT and posting them to the website. We think that will probably be done by the end of the week, and you can take a look at that. Moving on to the fourth slide. Here's our very tentative Hill schedule. Essentially, we're going to get started early that day. We're going to have a quick powwow chat before we leave and get on the buses, but the buses are slated to leave the Hilton at Mark Center at 8:45. Now, for some of you who have been to the previous ILTs, this hotel is a little bit farther out than the other hotels that we stayed at in the previous years, so it's going to take us a little time to get into D.C., to get to Capitol Hill, unload the buses, but we're looking at getting a group photo of everyone in front of the Capitol about 9:35. As soon as we're done with that photo, everyone will go ahead and disperse and go to their first Senate office. Hopefully that's about at 10 o'clock. 11 o'clock, you'll go to your second office visit. Noon or so is when we would like you, and hopefully you're able to schedule the lobbying visit on the House side. And then the buses are going to leave at 1 p.m. It's very important to note that the buses will leave and return to the Hilton Mark Center at 1 p.m. The buses, for security reasons, cannot stay there. They have to move within a few minutes of actually staying there. They can't park and wait for a long period of time because Capitol Police will force them to move. So it's very important that you get there as promptly as you can because we don't want to leave anyone behind. After that, about 1:30, we'll look for the lunch and debrief session where we'll discuss your visits and answer any questions that may have come up. And then hopefully about 2:45, the ILT attendees will go into a recess. The Governing Council will have, I believe, a meeting that starts at 3, and they'll go into session, but everyone else, I think, is on a recess for the rest of the afternoon and into the evening. So moving on to slide 5, these next 2 slides are just maps of Capitol Hill and the areas we'll be visiting. You'll see the numbers, and the dotted pathway is laid out as the kind of path that you will be following on that day. The number 1, that denotes the area where we're going to disembark from the buses. We'll move over to the United States Capitol, and that where the camera icon is, and 2, that's just right in front of the Capitol. And then everybody will move around Capitol Hill towards the north up to that blue block on the top of your page, number 3 and 4. Those are your Senate office buildings. Russell, Dirksen, and Hart, those are all the Senate buildings that are there. And so that's where your first meetings will take place. After that, you'll go south 2 blocks or so to the buildings on the bottom of your page that's marked with 5 in the blue box. Those are all of the 3 House office buildings, Rayburn, Cannon, and Longworth. And then after that, you'll cross back over in front of the Capitol to the Peace Circle, where the other bus icon is in number 6, and that's where we're going to pick up. So please don't get confused. There are 2 different circles where you're going to be dropped off and we're going to pick up. As I said before, the buildings on the top of your page, those are the Senate buildings, Russell, Dirksen, and Hart. The numbers for those are fairly straightforward. They'll have the first digit of the room number will equal the floor number. So if you have Russell 215, that's on the 2nd floor of Russell. We make a note of that because the numbering in the House buildings is a bit different and a bit more confusing, particularly with Rayburn and Longworth. In Cannon, it's the same as the Senate buildings. It's the first digit will equal the floor number. So again, if you have a meeting in Office 318, it's on the 3rd floor. Longworth, though, is the first building that's different because you're going to want to look at the 2nd digit. That will equal the floor number. So if you're have a meeting in Longworth 1701, that's on the 7th floor. And the same goes for Rayburn. You might have a meeting that's in 237 or 2378 in Rayburn, and that 2nd digit will equal your floor number. Lobbying visits, as we said, moving on to slide 7, these are very simple. One thing we want to highlight in this whole exercise, and that we want you to keep in mind, and Chris Andreessen was very good at pointing this out, and we want you all to just keep this with you, is that this is an opportunity for you to tell your story to your federal representatives in their offices. And what we mean by that is that your visit and your information that you're going to convey is going to mean a lot more to them than the visits that Gila and I and Chris and I do on a regular basis, because you are a constituent and you live in the communities that these folks represent, and you understand the challenges that those communities face and the way that counselors can help overcome some of those challenges. So keep in mind, that between now and when you come, you want to take some time to formulate your story. You want to take some time to think about why you came to the counseling profession, why you're coming to ILT, why you believe that the counseling profession can make a positive impact and how it can make a positive impact in the community. You don't have to write a long dissertation or essay on it, but you can, take some time to type out a few sentences on a page so that you're ready to go to tell these folks why it's important that we have more counselors working in the VA, why it's important that counselors receive Medicare reimbursements, just like psychologists and psychiatrists do. Tell them your story. Tell them why this is important for the community. Introduce yourself to the receptionist. Tell them who you've got an appointment with. They'll be able to help you find that person. Also very important at the end of the visits is that you let them know that you're going to follow up in a couple of weeks. Get their contact info and send them an email when you get home so that they know that you're going to follow up with them. Moving on to slide 8. We've talked about this with some of you before, and you may have seen this, but we are building, and we tried this last year and with some great success, so we're adding on to it this year. We wanted to create some grassroots supports for the efforts and the visits that you'll be conducting when you're up here. Now what that means is that we know we're not able to bring every ACA member to the Hill and visit with their members of Congress. So instead what we decided to do was utilize technology and social media in a way that everybody can participate in the efforts that we're going to be, your efforts on the Hill. And so we've worked with a group called Thunderclap. It's a social media platform. And basically what it does is that it helps build awareness for an issue that we'll be advocating for when you're on the Hill. It essentially holds in escrow your tweets until we'll release them on the day you go to the Hill on the 24th. Hopefully to garner more attention and bring more focused spotlight on our issues. Some of you, I think all of you might have received an email from our communications team with the link to it. We're going to concentrate, because it seems like a very timely issue now, on having more counselors employed by the VA. So in this slide you'll see at the bottom there's a link to our Thunderclap campaign. If you tweet, if you have Facebook, we would ask that you please go to that link, post it on your Facebook page, send a tweet, and share it with your friends, because this is not something that we just want to limit to the sphere of ACA members. We want other folks, other counselors that may not be ACA members. We want, friends and family of yours, certainly people who are concerned about veterans and veterans issues, to be aware of this campaign and to participate and add their voices to ours to make a better and bigger effect. We see that there's some positive success right now. We've got, I think before we got on the call, I looked at about 295 folks that had shared that. We had an initial goal of 100, so we're glad that we surpassed that. But we want to make sure we keep getting as many people as we possibly can. Moving on to slide 9, I wanted just to talk to you about the logistics of finding out who your federal representative is. If you go to House.gov, just type that in your search engine. It should take you to this page or bring this page up. This is the homepage for the United States House of Representatives. It's not going to look exactly like this, but it's going to look very, very similar. You'll notice up in the right-hand corner there's a map of the lower 48 states with a box to enter your zip code. What you'll do is you'll enter your zip code in that box, hit go, and it will bring up your representative and then a link to their website. When you do that, you can go ahead and contact them. They'll have a contact section there for their number. If you move over to slide 10 on our presentation, another way that you can find out if you want to just forego the internet option is you can call the Capitol switchboard at the number listed there and just ask who if you can get connected with your member's office. Now, they're going to need a name, so you hopefully will be able to find out who your member is before that and then share that with them, and they'll connect you. When you get to the office of your representative, let them know who you are. Let them know that you're a constituent that's going to be on Capitol Hill on July 24th and that you'd like to meet with the representative or the staff member. Let them know, again, we want to try, and we know that this is difficult, but we want to get that meeting scheduled as close to noon as we possibly can so that it fits in with the other schedules and the other scheduled meetings that you're going to have the GILA setting up. If you can, please get the name and email of the person you'll be meeting with. That's very helpful to have in case something happens and we need to contact them or you need to contact them. And once you get that meeting, just shoot an email to GILA with the office time and the staff person's name if you've got it.
I just wanted to interject quickly. A lot of times the representative may not be available to meet with you due to schedule constraints. If they ask that you meet with staff, tell them it's fine. You know, because it's kind of few and far between that the actual congressman will be able to meet with you. So staff is perfectly all right to meet with.
That's right. As Guido said, you know, a lot of times there's a huge demand on the representatives' time, and they will be there and they will be voting. So sometimes the schedule can get a little crazy. I think Chris, did you have something you needed to say?
I just wanted to piggyback on that point. Just because you're meeting with the staff, especially on the House side, the staff of the office is probably 3 to 4 in most cases. So it's a very small staff, and everybody has dedicated time with the member throughout the week. So your messages will get back to the boss, and, you know, in some cases, the member may just stick his or her head in to say hello, that sort of thing. That's not uncommon. So a staff meeting is perfectly fine.
Okay, so moving on to slide 11, we're going to be giving you a bunch of information in these next couple of slides, so please feel free to follow up with phone calls or emails to Gila or myself if you have questions. But starting with our Medicare legislation, we've got 2 bills. We're very excited about it. It's the first time in several years that we've had 2 bills in the House, one in the House, one in the Senate. The Senate bill is S562. House bill is HR 3662. This is truly bipartisan legislation that would cover counselors under Medicare. We mean bipartisan by the fact that on both of these bills there's a Republican and there's a Democrat that are lead sponsors on these bills. So we're very happy that we've got folks from across the aisle supporting this. This is going to cover LPCs and marriage and family therapists at the same reimbursement rates as clinical social workers, which is 75% of medical doctors. This is important just to note, so you have that in your files and just to have that if you're talking about this issue. The last cost estimate we had from the Congressional Budget Office was that it was $100 million over 5 years and $400 million over 10 years. You may not get asked that question, but it's good. It's a good stat just to have handy because there are some offices that may go ahead and ask you that, and we want to make sure that you're prepared. Our ask, moving on to slide 12, that we have on Medicare is that we're going to ask your senators to co-sponsor S562, and we're going to ask your representatives, especially, this says ask Republican representatives. We obviously do want everybody, whether they're Republican, Democrat, or if they were independents in the House, we'd love to have them too. But because the Republicans are in the majority in the House, we really want to focus on trying to get more Republican representatives to co-sponsor HR 3662. So if you're represented in the House by a Republican, that's a prime target and a prime candidate for recruitment that we need on the House bill. Moving on to slide 13, this is just a list of co-sponsors of S562. It's important just to take a look at that list. If you're coming from a state where you have a senator that is listed as a co-sponsor, just make sure you thank them when you stop by the office and tell them that you appreciate them signing on to this piece of legislation. We want to make sure we're giving credit where credit is due. Moving on to slide 14, VA and counselors. A lot of you have probably heard this information before, so I'm not going to try and repeat most of it, but essentially you know that for 7 years we have been waiting on the VA to hire counselors at their medical facilities across the country. I think at the last count of statistics that we were able to get, licensed professional counselors make up less than 1% of the total VA mental health workforce. You all have seen these reports in the news, from CNN to Fox to maybe even in your local papers and local television stations, that there is a huge scandal that has been erupting in the last few weeks over the VA, and it basically shows the fact that the VA has been falling down and failing in their obligations to take care of our veterans, not only with their physical health care, but with their mental health care as well. We see this at ACA as an opportunity to institute true reforms within the VA. A lot of people are going to want to do something on the VA to help contribute to the solution, contribute to a worthwhile, long-lasting, real solution to this problem, and I believe that we can find it with the recommendations that we're having. A key question that we keep asking folks is that by the VA's own estimates, we lose 18 veterans a day to suicide, and we wonder how many of those couldn't get help from the VA, how many of them are not getting help because the VA doesn't have a mental health clinician and is not hiring everybody and utilizing all mental health clinicians, in other words, counselors, to help make sure that we're getting veterans the help that they need. Moving on to slide 15, we've got several different asks in the VA, and these will be repeated on the briefing papers that you're going to get for the VA, so don't feel like you have to memorize all this information. But we've made several different recommendations to the VA, and that we're asking that the Congress push the VA to adopt some of these recommendations, and they vary in different things, like we want the VA to start integrating integrating counselors into the training program. This is a training program that is run through the VA's Office of Academic Affiliations, and that training program has accounted for up to 70% of all the psychologists that the VA has hired. We want to make sure that counselors are fully integrated in that. Another thing we've asked them to do is to work with ACA to find counselors that could be hired for what have been called traditionally hard to fill positions. Sometimes these positions are in more rural areas, and psychologists and psychiatrists don't necessarily want to move to these areas. It's very hard to recruit, but sometimes we may have a counselor that's well qualified to work with the VA there, and if the VA would just work with us, we could probably help them to find replacements or people to fill those slots. Moving on to slide 16, we're going into the school counseling sessions right now. So essentially we've got two main focuses. The perennial focus, which is a very, very important topic for us, funding for the elementary and secondary school counseling program. As you know, this is the only federal program that helps fund school counselors and helps fund districts give the school districts the funds to support school counselors. As it stands right now, the Senate Appropriations Committee looks like it's going to allocate $49 million for the program. And Chris, you can correct me if I'm wrong, and Gila, you can too, but I believe the Senate Subcommittee on Appropriations that's responsible for this allocation has it right now at $49 million, essentially, about that amount. But they're waiting for the entire committee to adopt that and then send it to the Senate. So we want to make sure that you're letting your representatives know, if you're lobbying on this issue, that this is very important and why that's important, and that they need to maintain that level of funding. Moving on to slide 17, the second part of our school counseling also talks about career counseling. We have two bills. They're both called the Counseling for Career Choice Act. These are the respective numbers, S-282 and H.R. 2317. This is a bill that will help professional school counselors better prepare students for making educated decisions about their post-secondary options. Essentially, it provides funding for the states against hire more PSCs and counseling and counselors that do professional development. You hear a lot of folks in Washington, particularly the president, talking about academic achievement and economic mobility, and people seem to wring their hands and wonder if how we can help students realize their potential and get those advanced degrees and therefore become more economically stable and successful when they graduate. This is a program that can help do that. All of you who are school counselors and career counselors know what a vital role the counseling profession plays in this whole equation, and this is another opportunity where we can show them that this is a profession that needs to be helped and nurtured so that we can help the society as a whole. So the ask, as we move on to slide 18 with school counseling, is we want your senators and representatives to support funding for ESCP. We want your senators to co-sponsor S-282, and we want to ask that your representatives co-sponsor H.R. 2317. Okay, moving on to slide 19, just some quick tips for lobbying. Some of you will probably go in a group to some of these offices, particularly with the Senate offices, but also to your representative offices. So it's good to huddle very quickly, maybe on Wednesday evening when you all are there, to just figure out what the group's going to look like, and then decide who's going to talk about which issues and who's going to talk about, cover which points, who's going to start off, etc. You don't need to script it out, but you just do need to have an order so when you all sit down, everybody's just not looking at each other and wondering who's going to speak first. Just take some time to work that out before you get to the Hill. The second point, very important, this is a campus that is very spread out, so you need to allow time for you to get from point A to point B. If you're going to be late, call ahead to the next office to let them know you're running late. If necessary, the receptionist can help you with this, but just make sure you're allocating the appropriate amount of time to get from office to office, because it does take a while, especially when you're crossing from the Senate office across the Capitol to the House. On that note, moving to slide 20, please wear comfortable shoes. It's probably about a mile and a half of ground that you'll be covering that day, not all at once, but you want to make sure that don't tear up your feet going from place to place, and we want to make sure that you're all healthy and physically all right when we pick you up. Taxis are an option if you need one. There's taxis that go around also for any of you that use any of the ride-sharing services like Lyft or Uber. Those are available as well. It also is probably going to be a little bit warmer. I would even venture to say it'd be unseasonably warm. Last year we were very blessed to have a wonderful weather on the Hill, but I think it's going to be a lot warmer this year. Bring your business cards. Make sure that you drop those off with the staff members that you meet with at the Hill so they know who they spoke to and how to get a hold of you. Also, feel free to ask questions. If you read something in the paper or online before you came into the office, if you want to ask a question about the legislation, feel free to ask those questions. They're there to answer questions as well. Another important note that's not on here, but we will say this a couple different times, is that we want to make sure that we're going to give you the briefing papers in your packet when you register. These are, when I say briefing papers, they are sheets of paper that will cover these issues and talk about what we're asking for. Those are given to you so that you know what's going on and you have some background, but they're also for you to leave behind with a staff member. So it's very important when you get your registration packet and those papers are in there that you don't discard them, that you keep them with you. You will need those on Thursday. Please make sure that those are kept intact because, again, you're not the only person that's going to look at them. That's going to be left behind somewhere else. Keela, did you have anything, other points to them? Okay. I think we're going to go ahead and unmute the lines now so we can go ahead and take questions. So if you just hold tight.
Well, hi, guys, and thank you very much for the presentation. It was very informative. This is Perry Francis in Michigan. And wanted to know real quickly, wearing comfortable shoes is great. It's going to be warm, but what's the dress code?
That's a good question. Before I answer that, if everybody can do me a favor and hit *6 right now if you're not going to ask a question, That will mute your own line and cut down on ambient noise. But thank you for that. Perry, thanks for that question. The dress code is going to be a business attire. House and the Senate are going to be in session, so the people that you're going to meet with will be wearing, business attire, suits, dresses, etc. So please make sure that you're wearing that, but don't feel, gentlemen and even ladies, that you need to wear any neckwear. That if you come in with a button-down dress shirt, a coat, and slacks, you'll look all right. You don't necessarily need to wear the tie if it's going to be too constraining for you. Or if you have a scarf that you're wondering about, same thing. You can probably forego that. They'll be completely understanding with the heat and everything. Any other questions?
This is Sherry Bynum in Oklahoma. For some
Hi,
reason,
Sherry.
I can't get all of the slides. Is there a reason for that?
You can't get all of the slides?
On the PowerPoint, and I'll come up.
Yeah, it's a PDF that we sent you, so you should be able just to scroll down. So when you open up the PDF at the top, there'll be a toolbar. There'll be an up and down arrow, and you hit the down arrow, and it'll take you through the pages. There's about 20 slides there.
Well, I've got part of the slides, but part of them won't show. I'm on the thing. Like right now, I had the final reminders. It says wear comfortable shoes. Some of them were like blank. Like number 17 didn't come up at all. It was there. It was just blank.
Sherry, this is Gila. Do me a favor and send me an email, and we'll see if we can get you another presentation.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Any more questions?
Hi, this is Napanji Thomas from Detroit, Michigan, and you mentioned that we're going to be going to Capitol Hill in groups possibly. So when we're making our appointments with our representatives, should we still be making those as individuals or as a group?
Yes, because there are in some cases, and we're aware of those, and we're working with the folks on that fall into that category. You may have one or two people that share a representative, but because there are more representatives, in the House than senators, you're more likely to have just one person going to an individual representative's office.
Okay. Thank you.
This is Paul Peluso. I have a quick question. Can you talk a little bit about the Senate visits that we're going to be doing?
Sure. The Senate visits are being scheduled by Gila. So between the hours of 10 to just before noon, that's the window that's going to be set aside for the Senate visits. You don't need to worry about scheduling those. What's going to happen is that since Gila's scheduling those, we're putting together a spreadsheet, and probably on either late Tuesday, but more likely Wednesday, everyone's going to get an individualized schedule, and it will have the name of the Senate office that you're going to, the location, and the time. And for some folks, some groups it may be different, because it may be, somebody may meet with their senator at 10:15, somebody may meet with them at 11:45 or 11:30. So that will be given to you when you get there. But essentially, you're going to be choosing your issue to take a look at and talk about. But we'll take care of all of the logistics for you.
This is Amy Linhart from Frisco, Texas. I'm curious, you said that you wanted us to meet with the House representatives at noon. Is that going to give us enough time to get on the bus and everything? Or I guess I'm just curious about the time.
Yes, and that's a good question. When we're talking about these meetings, even though they're in some of them there may be more than one person, more than one ILT attendee with these meetings, you want to make sure that you're succinct in these meetings, and that the meeting really shouldn't last more than about 15 minutes. That's another thing that we wanted to mention, another reason why we want you to get together with your group and kind of map out who's going to say what, because it shouldn't be a half-hour meeting. These folks and you have demands on their time for that day, and so you want to make sure that you're getting in, you're conveying your message, you're clear with your ask, and then you're going to move on to the next meeting so that you can make all three of them.
Okay,
so thank you for that question. It's very important.
Art, this is Bill Green. I just have an observation. I've done many visits up on Capitol Hill, and I absolutely agree with you that we need to be succinct. We need to be get our message out as quickly as possible. And I agree with you about the importance of distributing the briefing sheets that we're going to have, the information sheets that we're going to have. But I have to. It's important to stress to everybody, you really need to get the personal message to your senator or representative. So if you can come up with some way that this issue is impacting you or the counseling profession in your state, that's what these politicians want to hear. That's what's going to be impactful for these politicians. So it's nice to have all this information, but if you can come up with a specific personal story that you can let your congressman or state senator know how this issue is impacting their constituents, both who are receiving mental health services who are providing mental health services. It's very important.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's exactly right. The briefing papers should be seen as like background information, and it brings up another good point that if anybody asks you a more detailed question on the policies or the legislation, feel free to say that you don't know. Not everybody, even the staffers that you're talking to, are going to have all the answers to all the questions. And we would rather you say, I don't know about that, but I can get back to you, than try and make something up. Please feel free to do that, to know that the statistical information, the figures, the facts, all that stuff, Gila and I and Chris can provide that for you and follow up with those offices at a later date. But it is really important to take some time, talk about how these issues are impacting the community right now. If you have, a number of clients in your area that are going to lose their care and their access to mental health care simply because they're turning 65 and they're not going to be covered by Medicaid anymore, that's an issue, and you can talk about that. Now, obviously, you will maintain confidentiality. We have no doubt about that. But talk about how that's important, how that's impacting it, because Bill's exactly right. That's what they want to know when they're meeting with you.
Any more questions?
I have one. This is Rachel Christensen from Western Region. How do you want us to open up our visits with our representatives, our senators and our House of Representatives person? Do you want us to say we're with the American Counseling Association and we are professional counselors? I'm from the state of Washington or whatever. How do you want us to open that up so that they do know we are representing ACA as well as professional counselors in general, and we are professional counselors?
I think that the way you just said it is great. I think you want to let them know that you're here with ACA, that you're a professional counselor in the area that you're working in, or if you're a counseling educator, and let them know that you're a constituent that's concerned about these issues, and here's why.
Okay, that's great. I thought you might want us to do it that way, but I wanted to double check.
Thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate that, because that's exactly the way we need to do that.
Anyone else?
All right. Well, thank you so much, number one, for volunteering, being a volunteer leader with the association. We really appreciate your time. We know that it's always that there's a lot going on, but we appreciate you taking the time to take roles and help guide the profession. We want to thank you for coming out to Washington, and we look forward to seeing you. If you have any questions, feel free to give Gila or myself a call or shoot us an email, and we're looking forward to seeing all of you in a couple of weeks. So thank you very much.